This is Sergeant Chris Richardson with the Tennessee Highway Patrol, here to explain the Tennessee Hands-Free Law, which is a new state law effective July 1st, 2019. In Public Chapter 412, it makes it illegal for a driver to hold a cell phone or a mobile device with any part of their body, to write, send, or read any text-based communication, to reach for a cell phone or mobile device in a manner that requires the driver to no longer be in a seated driving position or properly restrained by a seatbelt, to watch a video or a movie on a cell phone or a mobile device, and to record or broadcast video on a cell phone or a mobile device. So, can I still talk on my cell phone while driving? Yes. A driver is permitted to use an earpiece, headphone device, or a device worn on a wrist to conduct a voice-based communication. The driver may use one button on a cell phone or mobile device to initiate or terminate voice communication, and voice-based communication may also be used to send a text message. Learn more at handsfreetn.com.
CJ Used Appliances, located at 3530 Jackson Avenue here in Memphis, Tennessee. Call them at 901-487-7882. CJ Used Appliances has the best prices in town. Sales and service, heating and air. Also the best appliances you'll find anywhere in the Mid-South. Refrigerators, microwave stoves, washers and dryers, deep freezers, dishwashers, whatever you need in used appliances. And folks, I'll tell you, they're the best used appliances anywhere you'll find. That's CJ Used Appliances, 3530 Jackson Avenue. All appliances come with warranty. You can call them at 901-487-7882. Again, 901-487-7882. CJ Used Appliances. B-Graphics Printing, located at 890 East Range Road in Memphis, a complete print shop for all your printing needs. They do it all: color copies, resumes, funeral programs, rubber stamps, full-color business cards, wedding and graduation invitations, and more. 30-plus years of quality work and service. They're open Monday through Friday from 8 a.m. to 5:30 p.m., located at 890 East Range Road in Memphis, Tennessee, 901-345-9294. B-Graphics Printing.
Players make big time plays. Big time players make big time plays. Big time players make big time plays. Go hard, 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 go hard. 'Cause big time players make big time plays. Big make big time plays. Gotta get it in a big time way. Let's get it on the grind, head on the line. Gotta stay focused, gotta keep a sound mind. Go home, go long and go strong. Don't back down. When it's tough, that's when we press on. Gotta dig deep, gotta dig in. Hunger for the victory, hunger for the win. Ready to make a play, let's get it in. Swag on point, yeah, swag on 10. It's go time, it's show time, it's my time in my town. Big time players make big time plays, but believe it's about to go down. Big time players make big time plays. Big time players make big time plays. Big time players make big time plays. Players make big time plays.
And welcome to another edition live. 2:14 is the time, and this is Talkback Live Network presents Talkback Live Sports. And man, I'm glad to see y'all again, man, on another Tuesday edition of the show. Wherever you may be, however you may be listening, man, I definitely appreciate y'all for checking me out on today. And, man, we got some stuff to talk about today, man. As you know, one of the biggest topics in the world of sports
kind of like yesterday, and I think it's going to be for the foreseeable future, is the James Wiseman situation. I'm going to get into that because there are some new developments that we're going to talk about. A court case ruling in the James Wiseman case, but maybe not in the way that you're thinking, involving the situation that you're thinking. So y'all need to stay tuned for that coming up as well. And this is involving, I'm not going to say what it's involving, but we're going to talk about it and dive in depth with it a little bit more with my man Dominic Lawson is going to be joining me at 2:35, about 20 minutes. So y'all stay tuned for that, the Business of Sports segment that we do each and every Tuesday right here on the show. So for right now, man, I'm going to get into some things. If you guys want to join the conversation right now, I know we're just getting started, but if you want to jump on in and get in where you fit in, you can do so. 901-213-6020 is the number to call. Once again, 901-213-6020, and we will bring you on in here in the room. I see Kelly, Dominic, Frankie in the building. Hope all of y'all are doing well. More people coming in as well. Shout out to you. And come on and join the conversation. So, a lot of stuff, man. We're going to dive into Wiseman's situation. I ever so slightly want to tease it, but I think I'm just hold off until a little bit later on. But it could be a peek into the future, what is going to happen with the James Wiseman situation. So y'all definitely want to stay tuned for that. But for right now, I want to talk about some things. Now, last night, there was a couple of pretty cool things that went down. First of all, you had Monday Night Football that went down. That's always cool, for the most part, even though a lot of the games from this year have not been the best. But I know last night was definitely an exception to the rule. So I'm going to talk about that in a minute. But first, I'm going to start off with a local bit. The Memphis Grizzlies. So the Grizzlies played the San Antonio Spurs last night. And you always know Memphis, San Antonio, that's a division rival. And really, it seems like if you've followed the Grizzlies for any amount of time, you know that for whatever reason, when we play the Spurs, the game is going to be competitive for the most part. Doesn't matter what the circumstances of either franchise. It doesn't matter who's doing what, where, when. It just seems like it always turns out to be that way for those two franchises. So, and that was the case again last night, man. Grizz Spurs, close game down to the wire, but the Grizzlies came out on top, I think, in surprising fashion. Matter of fact, this was the Grizzlies' first road victory. First win on the road all season long, as a matter of fact. So that is, I think, especially in a year like this year is, as different as this year is, because once again, this is not a year where we're expecting playoffs or anything crazy like that. But at the same time, you really don't know what to expect or what we're going to see or, what's going to happen from game to game, so to speak. So it's one of those things where, okay, let's just kind of see where this goes, see what happened, and I was glad to see what I saw, man. Especially in the case of Jaren Jackson Jr., because I've seen some outrageous things on social media about Jaren Jackson and whether we should be freaking out or not about his play, or if you want to say lack thereof, during the season thus far. But one thing about it, I think, first of all, this is early in the season, and it's been, been about 10 games, I guess you could say, into the season, and we're already worried about a guy who's in his second year and whether he's going to be a bust or not. This is way too soon to even be, spewing those words, so to speak, this early in the process, man. You got to think about, this is a guy coming into his second year under a new head coach, a totally new situation. Getting used to playing with John Morant and all these other guys. It's really a totally new team from what you had last year in a lot of aspects. So I think the whole thought process of, okay, Jaren, is he a bust? He's starting to look like a bust. I don't know about his future going forward. I think all of that is stupidity, to be perfectly honest with you. And I think Jaren kind of proved last night, man, look, I'm here. I'm still great. A force to be reckoned with in this league. And a young guy that's going to help continue to lead this team into the future. Just look at some of the stuff he was doing last night. Getting early position in the post. Hitting the 3-ball. That assist right there to Dylan Brooks, which was big later on in the game. But that's what you expect, man. That's what you want to see out of a guy like Jaren. You don't want to, see a guy out there not performing well. And I think some of it, to be honest with you, and this is not a harsh criticism per se, but I think some of that is attributed to Coach Jenkins learning about his personnel. I mean, think about it, man. This is his first year working with Jaren and all of that, and I really think in a lot of these instances, he has not been used correctly. The best success that Jaren sees, and especially if you were looking at those highlights, you get post position early. Find the mismatch, find your man, get post position, deep post position, get him the ball immediately, let him do what he does. Let him put in work and let him get those buckets. And last night he was getting buckets. He had 23 points, 6 rebounds, several assists as well. Hit multiple 3-pointers as you saw in the highlights there, which I'll show again to you guys also. But it was very good to see, because you wonder about a young player and whether his psyche can handle what many would call unfair criticism. And, unfair critics, unfair expectations, I guess you could say, even though I understand expectations, but it shouldn't get to the point where you're talking about a kid that's 20 years old and you're ready to give up on him. And that's one of the things, man, I think somebody talked about it earlier. Memphis fans could be so fair weather in certain aspects. Well, you sitting there telling me that Jaren Jackson even has a sniff of becoming a bust after the rookie season he had last year? I chalk that up to you just don't know what you're talking about. That's just it. I mean, that's the only explanation I can have for even formulating an opinion such as that. So those are just my thoughts real quick on the Grizzlies. I was glad to see them get their first road win as that team continues to grow, continues to find out who they are going forward in this season. And that's really, like I said, what this season is all about. It's not about going out here and trying to make the playoffs or anything like that. And you can tell by the way the Grizzlies are operating, they know who they are. They know what their identity is as far as that's concerned. But you just go out and play your best ball every night and see what happens. But I'm going to tell you something. When it comes to this team, I am looking forward to one thing. Like I said, I love the development of Brandon Clark. I love the budding superstar that John Morant is becoming before our very eyes. I love all that stuff. But even more so, I'm looking forward to another Jackson coming into the picture here soon. And by that, I mean Josh Jackson, who is in the G League, out there tearing it up for the Memphis Hustle. Josh Jackson's down there showing that, at least in the first couple of games, he looks like he's the best player on the floor by far. And you can tell, right, whenever a real NBA player goes down G League, you know that, hey, that guy doesn't belong down there at the end of the day. He doesn't belong down there. He's an NBA player. He needs to be up here with the big boys. You know what I'm saying? And playing ball. And I think the Grizz kind of need to quit playing around. And I know the main reason Josh is down there is because of his attitude and some of the, personality issues, I guess you could say, off the court issues that he had coming into the season. But every interview I've seen is the fact that, hey, he seems really humble. He seems really gracious from everything I've heard. And it seems like he's accepting of whatever the Grizz want him to do. And I'm guessing, not 100% sure, but I'm guessing that that's what the Grizz were trying to do in the first place by putting him in the G League. They wanted to humble him. They wanted to say, hey, look, man, we know you're this, you're that. They heard the problems he had in Phoenix. But, hey, look, you come here, you're going to have to do what we need you to do. And it seems as though Josh has already gotten the message. And hopefully that means he can come on up and be a contributor sooner rather than later. Because when you talk about Josh Jackson, you're talking about a guy that was a number one player in high school, ranked in the country. You're talking about a guy that was a first-round pick, a lottery pick in the draft. So this is a guy that can play. A lot of potential. And by far the best wing player on this team, I think, even though Dylan Brooks has been stepping up his game. Let me read some of these comments here, going into what I'm talking about here. And once again, if you guys want to join me, you can, 901-213-6020. Got a few minutes before Dominic Lawson joins me for the business of sports, and we're going to get into some stuff involving Wiseman. Kelly, what's up, man? He says, I think the best thing for J3, which is Jaren Jackson Jr., is a Zebo or Ren type of player playing next to him. That's an interesting thought. So a guy that can grab rebounds. And to be honest, when you look at Jonas Valanciunas, I thought, and I still kind of feel like Jonas is a good guy to put next to Jaren. Of course, not long term, but Jonas is more than serviceable. And honestly, I don't think he's 100% healthy because he's moving a lot slower. He's always been a big, slow guy, but he's moving slower and more gingerly than he did last year, to me. I don't know what that is attributed to, but Jonas Valanciunas is major because of the rebounding deficiencies of this team. And Valanciunas is a rebounding monster. If anything, he's an old school center that's expanded his game to shoot threes now. He's hit several threes this year. It kind of gives you what you wanted Marc Gasol to do, but a little bit more rebounding, interestingly enough. Some more comments here. Val, what's going on? I see you, man. Frankie says, I need some clarification concerning Wiseman when you get a chance, please. Why do the docs from the NCAA say that Wiseman is likely ineligible instead of saying that he is ineligible? That word likely confuses me. Well, here's what I know, Frankie, is that despite the fact that people would lead you to believe that the NCAA is the one that is able to rule people ineligible, they are not. And I found that out by reading. That is why they say likely. According to the rules, he is likely going to be ineligible. But who is the determining factor in somebody being eligible or ineligible? And this surprised me. It is the president of said university. He's the one that makes the decision. Now, the reason why the presidents of these universities always kowtow to the NCAA is because they're the governing body, right? Even though they don't necessarily have the authority to say to yank a guy, but they do have the authority to punish that school if they don't. So that's why they say the NCAA says likely. That's, in my opinion, in my thoughts, from what I've read and seen, that's why I think they cannot make an absolute statement, despite that fact. But from their observations and investigations into the situation, they can say likely with a heavy insistence upon the university to make him ineligible. And they've been throwing their weight around for a long time. And Memphis has kowtowed for a long time that it looks like they're not going to do so in this situation. Plus, there's a little bit more coming up, too, as far as court cases and Wiseman that we're going to get to in about 5 minutes with Dominic Lawson, so y'all stay tuned for that. Also, looking here, Kelly also says, at the end of the day, Jay will be fine, just a sophomore slump. I agree. And Kelly also says it's time for Josh to come to the Grizzlies and join the rest of the young Grizzlies and play together and build chemistry. Absolutely agree. Because see, with Josh Jackson, man, he brings a whole nother dimension that this team doesn't have right now. Talking about athleticism, you're talking about shooting ability, you talk about length and, you know, the ability to create your own shot off the dribble, mid-range, from the perimeter, as well as another slasher and a banger in the post as far as exploding to the rim. So can you imagine? Just think about Jaren, Josh, Jonas. The Jays are in full effect with the Grizz. So I can see that being a starting lineup. Dylan Brooks, you bring him off the bench or either start him at the 2. Josh Jackson at the 3. That is a solid, more than solid young core that can make some noise early. I'm not saying any playoffs or anything like that, but if the chemistry gets right and they get the system down and Coach Jenkins doesn't push too much and just kind of let them do them, I think you could really have some fun stuff here this year. So we're going to see, man. But for right now, I'm going to take a commercial break. And when I come back, we are going to get hot and heavy into the business of segment with Dominic Lawson. So y'all need to stick around, man, because this thing is about to get fired up. A lot of stuff we want to get to here in this coming segment. So y'all stay tuned. You're listening to Talk Back Live Sports here on the Talk Back Live Network. And I will be right back after this.
This is Sergeant Chris Richardson with the Tennessee Highway Patrol here to explain the Tennessee Hands-Free Law, which is a new state law effective July 1st, 2019. In Public Chapter 412, it makes it illegal for a driver to hold a cell phone or a mobile device with any part of their body, to write, send, or read any text-based communication, to reach for a cell phone or a mobile device in a manner that requires the driver to no longer be in a seated driving position or properly restrained by a seatbelt, to watch a video or a movie on a cell phone or a mobile device, and to record or broadcast video on a cell phone or a mobile device. So, can I still talk on my cell phone while driving? Yes. A driver is permitted to use an earpiece, headphone device, or device worn on a wrist to conduct a voice-based communication. The driver may use one button on a cell phone or a mobile device to initiate or terminate voice communication, and voice-based communication may also be used to send a text message. Learn more at handsfreetn.com.
CJ Used Appliances, located at 3530 Jackson Avenue here in Memphis, Tennessee. Call them at 901-487-7882. CJ Used Appliances have the best prices in town. Sales and service, heating and air. Also the best appliances you'll find anywhere in the Mid-South. Refrigerators, microwave stoves, washers and dryers, deep freezers, dishwashers, whatever you need in used appliances. And folks will tell you they're the best used appliances anywhere you'll find. That's CJ Used Appliances, 3530 Jackson Avenue. All appliances come with warranty. You can call them at 901-487-7882. Again, 901-487-7882. CJ Used Appliances.
Graphic Printing, located at 890 East Range Road in Memphis, a complete print shop for all your printing needs. They do it all: color copy, resume, funeral programs, rubber stamp, full color business cards, wedding and graduation invitations, and more. 30 plus years of quality work and service. They're open Monday through Friday from 8 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. Located at 890 East Range Road in Memphis, Tennessee, 901-345-9294. Graphics Printing.
This is Sergeant Chris Richardson with Tennessee Highway Patrol. Pedestrian safety is a two-way street. Both drivers and walkers need to do their part to keep roads safe. When you're walking, remember, the drivers may not always see you, so remember to use these tips to continue to walk safely. Wear bright clothes. Always use crosswalks and obey signs. Lights and reflectors should be used. And finally, keep alert and do not walk distracted. This message brought to you by the Tennessee Highway Patrol.
CNS Motors Auto Sales, located at 2508 Summer Avenue, here in Memphis, Tennessee. Call them at 901-323-8778. CNS Motors Auto Sales has been around since 1984. Go by and see Chris today. Some of the best pre-owned and used vehicles in the city. They have SUVs, minivans, cars, trucks, whatever you're looking for in pre-owned used vehicles. Hey, you can find it right there at CNS Motors Auto Sales. See Chris since 1984. They will treat you right. Call them at 901-323-8778. That's 901-323-8778. 2508 Summer Avenue, CNS Motors Auto Sales. Welcome back to the show, Talk Back Live Sports. And you know what that means when the music is bumping. Got you grooving on a Tuesday, man, and bringing in my guy. He is the man himself for the Business of Sports segment that we do each and every Tuesday at this time. Dominic Lawson, how you doing, brother?
I can't call it, man. What's going on with you, boss man?
Man, I'm feeling good on a Tuesday, even though it is freezing outside.
Man, woo!
It is
A
absolutely
little chill outside, man.
It is.
But it's never too cold for Taco Tuesday, though.
That's it. Never.
Never too cold for Taco Tuesday.
Never, man. Whether it's the $5 variety at Taco Bell or the the real kind elsewhere, you know.
For sure.
Absolutely, man. No judging the folks getting the $5 box, man. Not from me. But
not for me either, so.
Definitely, man. But I know a lot of people have been looking forward to this, man. So we're going to just get right into it. It's an interesting thing, right? We've been following the James Wiseman situation since it all unfolded and kind of hit us in the face really last Friday. And now it's a thing. Interesting developments today when it came to James Wiseman and the court ruling. Now, not for the situation that you guys may think, but there was another ruling involving him and the TSSAA. So, Dominic, I'm going to go on and kick it to you with the John Morant-like assist. And you go ahead and kind of tell us what your interpretation of what's going on right now.
For sure. And like J3, let me slam dunk that thing. So basically, Memphis judge has ruled in favor of the TSSAA regarding James Wiseman and Ryan Grace's eligibility of the East High School 2017-2018 school year. Basically, that is the year that I believe that was James Wiseman's one and only year playing for East, and Coach Penny Hardaway's last season coaching for East. Basically, they had to get an injunction in that regard as well for both him and Ryan Boyce to play on that team. That was due to a TSSAA coaching link policy that basically states, let me pull it up here. Mm-hmm. Give me a second.
Absolutely.
Sorry.
No, you're good.
Sure. There it is. I got it. TSSAA's coaching link rule makes athletes with an athletic record who transfer to a new school ineligible if an athletic coaching link existed during the previous 12 months. And so I think what happened was seen is that both Ryan Boyce and James Wiseman played for Penny's AAU team, Team Penny, mm-hmm. which he was a sponsor since 2012. I think that's what created the coaching link in TSSAA's mind. Interestingly enough, Judge Kyle, who has been in the news recently, mm-hmm. Is the one who ruled in favor of TSSAA's ruling. And the thing is, Josh, this has been the argument that we've talked about last week. We talked about even yesterday on Talk Back Live with Bob and Josh in the morning. You can catch that each and every morning, Monday through Thursday. Yes, but that was the issue that we've always had. Like, if this is an issue, then it should be a TSSAA issue and not necessarily NCAA issue. So it looks as if Judge Kyle has ruled in favor of the TSSAA's coaching link policy for sure, Josh.
You know, and it's so crazy about this is the timing. Mm-hmm. You know, it's like, well, you know what? Oh, this is on my desk. I might as well make a ruling on this today.
Absolutely. And the thing is that go ahead, Josh. I'm sorry.
No, you're good. And I just kind of setting up what I think you're probably right about to get into there is
for sure.
Yeah. Do you think it's a coincidence?
No. Go ahead. Well, I do think it is. I do think it's quite the coincidence because the thing is, it's like, you know, I mean, clearly everybody knows about at the college level, the injunction, the NCAA and things of that nature. Mm-hmm. And so I think once again, and we were talking about this during show prep today. Mm-hmm. I don't know if it's, and I'm not a lawyer, but I don't know if it's from a legal issue or from an optics issue that Judge Kyle decided to rule in favor of TSSAA. Sorry, a lot of acronyms on Talkback Live today. My apologies. So getting a little tongue-tied here. So, but the thing is, I think he may have made that ruling so that way it may give us an indication to how he may rule in the future or next week, possibly on the 18th when they go back to court with the Ballin, Faris, and Fishman and crew, James Wiseman's lawyers. I think it may give us an indication that Judge Kyle may actually rule in James Wiseman's favor, deeming him eligible for the entirety of the season. And the reason that's important is because, and this is once again putting pressure on the NCAA to look, you know, rather bad, because if you deem him ineligible for that 2017-2018 school year at East High School, and the NCAA comes and retroactively deems him ineligible for this particular school year, that's just going to look all bad for the NCAA, because it's like basically you're punishing twice this 18-year-old, you know, who just wants to play, you know, high school basketball, college basketball, and ultimately basketball. And it would just look bad from possibly a legal standpoint, but definitely from an optics standpoint. And the thing is, Josh, you know, if I'm CBS executives, I'm looking at this case very closely. Because the thing is, and I need to actually make a correction from what I said yesterday. I said that the NCAA has a $8 billion contract for the NCAA tournament that goes from now until 2025. Mm-hmm. I need to correct that. It is actually almost $20 billion that from now until 2032. And we're not talking about the entire season of college basketball. We're only talking about the tournaments in those years. Ooh. And that actually makes it the third largest TV deal in American sports behind the NFL and the NBA. So there's a lot of money in stake, and the Memphis market watches basketball heavily.
Yes.
Going back to the not just this past NBA Finals, but the one before it with the Cleveland Cavaliers and the Golden State Warriors. Outside of Golden State, outside of San Francisco and Cleveland, Memphis was the third largest market to watch those NBA Finals. So if you tell me that we're going to have possibly the biggest star in the tournament this year to not be available, CBS is like, NCAA, we need to have a conversation. So there are many ramifications from business to legal all over this case, Josh.
It's incredible. And another bit of irony, Mr. Jim Kyle, the same guy who will have the James Wiseman case on the 18th. So I'm being told as well, is the one who made the decision to rule Wiseman ineligible, like we were just talking about there, at East. So, like you said, the optics, the legal maneuvering, the chess pieces are being put into place, I think, for a positive outcome, at least for the 18th. Because the 18th is far from the end of the situation, but it is a major piece of the puzzle as far as this season goes. Because it feels like everything I've read, because there's so much you have to read just to kind of understand this whole thing. Crazy.
You're honestly getting like a paralegal degree from just following this case. I didn't even cut you off. But go ahead.
You're right. Honestly, I feel like I should get some credits for this. It's crazy.
Absolutely.
But all of that being said, man, at the end of the day, if everything goes to plan as far as Memphis is concerned, this restraining order will seem to have everything clear for this year. And then afterwards, let the chips fall where they may. And that's where it has some people concerned. And I think I may have talked to you about this the other day. But to get this on this right here, on this platform now, how do you feel about the risk that Memphis may be taking? Because I've heard many pundits around the city, some getting a lot of slack for it, saying that, hey, Memphis is not being smart by playing Wiseman because these games may end up being stripped from us afterwards, at the end of the day. Kind of a repeat of what happened to Derrick Rose, yeah.
Right, for sure. And you know what? And I'm glad you mentioned the Derrick Rose case, because the thing is, when you go back to that case, there were some ambiguous language in that case.
Yes.
And I think what happened was, and we learned a lot from 2008, which has made the University of Memphis, the city of Memphis, to say, you know what? Nah, we not even going to take this L like this time, because the thing is, like, you still have team members from the 2018 that want to challenge that ruling.
Yes. Right.
And this actually should help answer Frankie's question that I did see in the comments earlier. The thing is, and you talked about it, how it's actually the president who deems a player eligible or ineligible or not, or keeps them on off the court or off the field or whatever the case may be. The thing is, and this is why it's important to challenge the NCAA. The NCAA's rules and their bylaws are full of ambiguous language. And the thing is about, the law and lawyers and things of that nature, they thrive in that because they can challenge every single thing, even from the standpoint of Penny being a sponsor indefinitely, right? And keep in mind, believe it or not, indefinitely and perpetuity are actually two different meanings. I know they're similar, but they're actually two different meanings. I was listening to Fishman. He was on Jeff Calkins' show earlier, yesterday, and he talked about how if Penny is a booster, or for a lifetime, or whatever the case may be, whether he donated to the athletic program or not, the term indefinite needs to have a definition. Does that mean forever? Does that mean 10 years, or whatever the case may be? And so that is where you have a chance to beat this case. And granted, there is risk involved, but I mean, nothing ventured, nothing gained.
Exactly.
And so it's like there are many people around the country. The other Power 5 schools are looking at this case, and they're going to see some precedent here to like how to challenge the the NCAA and their rulings, the NCAA and their bylaws, the NCAA and how they enact certain laws and policies and ineligibility and deeming people, being wrong and all of this nature. So it's a fascinating thing. Yes, there is risk involved, but the NCAA has been kind of walking around for a long time since coined the phrase student athlete since 1964. They've been going unchecked for a long time. And so now you have a case that can totally change the way we see the NCAA. And I swear this is a perfect case to do it, Josh.
It really is. And it's amazing. And I keep saying this, and I will continue to. It's amazing. Just with Penny coming to Memphis, you thought, okay, wow, this is an amazing story. All-time great comes back, recruits well. You kind of think that's going to be the gist of it. But then, boom, bam. This kind of just hits it like a truck. And now this whole story just becomes grander to the entire country and is involved in it. It has an interest in what happens in this case.
Absolutely.
So this is major.
Absolutely.
I'm really curious how Ballin, Fishman, and Faris and the company will do. 'Cause this is probably one of their biggest cases, and they've handled huge cases before.
It is. And the thing is that they're usually, criminal defense attorneys, and usually people in the city, like, man, how could you defend this guy? But now they're seen as kind of temporary kings of Memphis right now because they are challenging this rule. And one more thing I want to point out that they say that was very interesting, and it's the recent interpretation that I just ultimately have a problem with, because once again, May of 2019, he was deemed eligible, right?
Yep.
Cleared NCAA clearance house and everything else, right?
Yep.
October 30th, he's deemed ineligible, seeing as that, due to recent interpretations. Now, the NCAA has language in place, as ambiguous as their bylaws are. They have language in place for errors such as these, Josh. But get this, normally they if it's an error on them, they let it go. But for some reason, they decided they're going to put their line in the sand with James Wiseman in the University of Memphis. And I think, seeing that what we learned from 2008, the city of Memphis ain't going for that this time.
No, not at all. And look, Memphis kind of kowtowed and let it happen, because I think education helps. You kind of go through those experiences, and I know it's a different regime now, but looking back at how things, and I'm pretty sure David Rudd and Larry Veach is like, nah, this ain't Shirley Raines anymore. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And the thing is, going back to David Rudd really quickly, it does not surprise me. The way he has scaled this university, the way he has scaled this athletic program, I'm pretty sure he's like, no, you are not about to come in and wreck all the work, all the gains that we have made with this university, with this city, with this athletic program. So I applaud the University. I applaud Penny for doing his thing. And I definitely applaud President Rudd, sticking by Wiseman and Penny's decision to play Wiseman.
Absolutely. And I think in the long run, of course, depending on how this plays out, this does nothing but help Penny and Memphis and the national perception. Because Memphis is now, who would have thought, everybody's rallying around the University of Memphis basketball team and Wiseman in particular, Penny Hardaway and everybody involved. Almost the team the nation is lifting up as the shining light that can hopefully, tear apart the NCAA as it is known today. So, and
recruits are looking at this too and saying, like, you know what, that dude's gonna go to bat for me if I go to the University of Memphis.
Mm-hmm. That's right. Shout out to Jalen Green, who's out there.
There you go. That was important. That was on purpose.
Exactly. But man, I talk with Dominic Lawson, man. Each and every Tuesday, the Business of Sports segment. And man, it's something I know we've been wanting to get to here for a little bit. Is this NBA streaming service that's going on? It's on a day where Disney Plus is launched, which has taken unprecedented amounts of media that I seem like every radio channel I've turned to and TV News Network has brought that up at some point today. Kind of talk about, as far as the NBA is concerned, and this kind of continued push towards streaming services overall.
For sure. Well, I mean, going back to Disney Plus just a little bit, that mouse is powerful, Josh. That's a powerful that mouse is a powerful business, dude. Let's just want to put that out there.
Definitely.
So basically, the NBA, last week announced the NBA TV streaming service, where it's going to be $6.99, where you'll get upwards of 100 games each season that you can stream on your phone. I don't think there's a Roku or Apple TV app version of it, at least not yet. But it's going to be $6.99 a month. But it's not just going to be games, but it's also going to be other on-demand content and other NBA TV content as well. And the NBA is really pushing for this because, honestly, when you look at the demographics of the NBA, they're trying to capitalize on the younger audience, which they have a nice grip on. Matter of fact, the NBA has the second youngest audience of any sport in the world behind soccer. It also has 4 million more Twitter followers, right? Than the NFL. Because the thing is, they're not going to beat the NFL on TV ratings.
Yeah.
But they think they've found a niche in streaming and streaming services and this, that, and the other. And they're really trying to capitalize on the Generation Z market, that 24 and younger market, because 24 and younger, they're starting to graduate college, they're starting to enter the workforce and things like that. So they're starting to have a little bit more disposable income they can spend on the NBA, stuff like that, streaming services, the NBA, and things of that nature. And with having a grip on their younger audience, they really think they can make some inroads into their overall general ratings and kind of beat the NFL in the start in a way of TV and streaming services. And also, Josh, and this goes back to what we were talking about earlier, this is also, and I'm pretty sure they had this in the works for a long time, but this streaming service could be a way to recoup some of those losses that you possibly are losing in China. We've talked extensively in the past about the issues with the NBA and China and things of that nature and some of the revenue you may be losing from that regard. But this streaming service may be a way to kind of recoup some of that and then some.
Oh, that's brilliant, really, if you think about it. And I think they would also, I'd imagine, just off the top of my head, be the first, major sporting, league or whatever to come out with a streaming service, so to speak. I mean, you got, NFL, with Sunday Ticket and things of that nature, but it's not a streaming service,
Right. The NFL does have a red zone.
Okay.
But it's a little, but it's not full games.
Yeah.
And MLB does have a streaming service, but it's only just games, no commentary, no other on demand content or anything of that nature. So in that regard, this will be the only service that has not only games, full length games, 100 games, a season, but also that on demand content, behind the scenes and practices, up to date news reports, things of that nature. And they're starting to see how, once again, they're starting to see how ESPN, there's that mouse again. They're starting to see how ESPN is capitalizing on the streaming market with ESPN Plus and things of that nature. And so they think they've found some inroads. The only potential headwind that I do kind of see, and it's not really just exclusive to the NBA, but it's just streaming services as a whole, is that we're moving more towards this cord-cutting society, right? And the younger generations are really doing that. We've cut the cord here at home, and we've benefited. But the thing is like, now you're starting to be nickel and dimed everywhere. Like, everybody has a streaming service now. Like you just mentioned, Disney Plus launched today. NBC is going to launch a new streaming service, with, bringing back Saved by the Bell. Apple TV just launched a streaming service. And so it's like, I do fear there's a bit of saturation that may be coming into the market that the NBA is definitely going to have to be concerned about. But if they feel like, if there's ever a bet to make, it's on young people with disposable income. You can never go wrong with that in business, Josh.
No doubt. And I think one thing that's important as well, people love, when it comes to sports, it's so niche. Like, they love sports. Like I know guys, can watch basketball all day, and I love basketball too. They would easily buy that NBA streaming service and pay that money just to watch games.
And it's very affordable.
Yeah, that's very affordable. But the thing I can see, you almost wonder, everybody's getting away from cable and cord cutting. But now it's like, man, I love Netflix, but it doesn't have any of those Marvel movies anymore. So let me get this too, the Disney Plus.
Exactly.
And now, NBC's got this. That neither one of these, well, I got to get that too. And then I need the NBA game, so I need to get this. So it's almost going to add up to a cable bill at least if you get all these.
Absolutely, and that's the irony of it all. Is like you cut the cord to get away from the high cable bill, but with all the nickel and dime, you actually may end up going back to the price you were paying for cable in the first place. So it's very interesting. I know we have like the Hulu as our base package where we have like a whole bunch of things, and then we have ESPN Plus here and HBO here and stuff like that for that type of content. So yeah, it's definitely a chess match for sure.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how that develops. And you never know. What I'm curious about with the Disney thing, I know we're going to have to wrap up here, but I'm curious about with the Disney thing is the ESPN aspect. Will that ever combine at some point and make some type of mega thing? I don't even know if that would be possible. But
I mean, it's very possible. Like I said, I never, second guess the mouse. I never second guess the mouse. Like that dude, from ESPN to Walt Disney to ABC, that dude is he is very business savvy.
Absolutely.
But the thing is, when it comes to sports, ESPN is such a brand that stands on its own. I don't think it necessarily needs to do that. It actually may get lost in the shuffle of Disney Plus. And it's not like Disney Plus needs it. Disney Plus has the Disney movies, which are valuable on its own.
Yes.
The Star Wars franchise, which is valuable on its own. And the Marvel MCU franchise, which is valuable on its own. And I think they just kind of threw in National Geographic to kind of appease the educational piece. Yeah. And now you can also stream The Simpsons. I don't even know how the mouse pulled that off.
Yeah, where
to have them on Disney Plus. I have no idea. I thought that was under Fox, but for some reason they finessed Fox to get The Simpsons. So once again, like I've been saying, that mouse is a very business savvy person, man, and it's amazing to kind of see how long it's going to take them to buy Walmart and take over the world.
Yeah, MOUSC, indeed.
There you go.
No doubt, man. So that's my man Dominic Lawson. Man, let the people know how they can follow you and possibly if you want to give folks your Hulu password, I ain't suggesting nothing, you know what I'm saying, but you never know what you get if you follow Dominic, man. So
fair enough. So you can follow us on any major podcast platform. My name is Dominic Lawson, host of the Startup Life podcast. We talk to entrepreneurships and business leaders around the world. Like I said, on all major podcast platforms. Also a co-founder of the Binge Podcast Network, Just Blurred, Let's Be Real podcast, Nothing But Buckets podcast, the Mind Your Business podcast with my awesome co-founder, Ron Brooks, who's the moderator and host of that. And also, I want to plug something. I'll be actually speaking at the Launchpad Memphis Global Entrepreneurship for Global Entrepreneurship Week next week at Launchpad Memphis at 50 MLK Boulevard downtown.
Oh, nice.
It's a wonderful event to kind of spur young entrepreneurship here in the city of Memphis. I'll be actually speaking on a panel discussion about how we can spur young entrepreneurs in our great city of Memphis, Tennessee, for sure. So be sure to kind of go online, go to Facebook, Launchpad Memphis. They have the link all there and stuff like that. So come check us out and see how we can grow some new entrepreneurs here in the city of Memphis.
Definitely, man. That's my man, Dominic Lawson, the businessman himself with the Business of Sports segment. Man, and I don't want to put no pressure on you about that Hulu pass. Don't expect it. I know y'all may be inboxing Dominic like, hey, man, y'all hook a brother up, you know what I'm saying? But I ain't making no promises.
To be fair, my mom already has that, so it's already locked up. It's already locked up.
There it is. But man, I appreciate you coming on, brother, as always, and we're gonna knock it out next week, brother.
No worries. As always, I'll see you and Bob.
Yes, sir, brother. All right.
All right.
Dominic Lawson in the building for the Business of Sports segment, man. But that's going to do it for us today on this edition of Talk Back Live Sports, man. I appreciate y'all for tuning in, for watching, for listening. Hopefully we answered a lot of your questions there. Real quick, we talked about the James Wiseman situation with the TSSAA. They come out late, extra late, and say, hey, yeah, by the way, Wiseman and Ryan Boyce are ineligible. So it's very interesting, the timing. And the same person involved in that ruling was the same person that's going to be involved in the ruling November the 18th when it comes to James Wiseman and the NCAA. So a lot of theories out there that, hey, this man made this ruling 2 years later because he may rule in favor of Wiseman coming up on the 18th. Meaning, didn't want to get pulled off the case or worry about some type of bias if he ruled in favor of Wiseman in that old case. Wants to show that there is some non-bias going on there, but turn around and rule in the Tigers' favor coming up on the 18th. It's chess, not checkers, folks. That's what it is. And, hey, you do what you got to do. So we're going to see what happens, man. The 18th is going to be a big day for Tigers history. But today is a big day because the Tigers play Oregon coming up tonight. They are already in the West Coast. I just saw a video. The Tigers are warming up. They are playing in the Portland Trailblazers Arena, a.k.a. Rip City. So y'all stay tuned and go Tigers go as far as that's concerned. I see Jet leaves a comment. Let me read that before I get out of here. Jet says, yeah, we got to start a streaming password sharing group. For a small fee of $30, you can have access to all the streaming sites. Well, I don't know. I laugh, but hey, I had to talk about that off the air, man. But I kid, man. But nonetheless, I appreciate y'all for tuning in, for watching and listening wherever you may be. We'll be back tomorrow. Talk Back Live with Bob and Josh. You know how we do each and every morning, and I don't miss it. So, without any further ado, guys, we will talk to you guys next time.
CJ Used Appliances, located at 3530 Jackson Avenue here in Memphis, Tennessee. Call them at 901-487-7882. CJ Used Appliances has the best prices in town. Sales and service, heating and air. Also the best appliances you'll find anywhere in the Mid-South. Refrigerators, microwave stoves, washers and dryers, deep freezers, dishwashers, whatever you need in used appliances. And folks will tell you they're the best used appliances anywhere you'll find. That's CJ Used Appliances, 3530 Jackson Avenue. All appliances come with warranty. You can call them at 901-487-7882. Again, 901-487-7882. CJ Used Appliances.
Graphic Printing, located at 890 East Range Road in Memphis, a complete print shop for all your printing needs. They do it all. Color copies, resumes, funeral programs, rubber stamp, full color business cards, wedding and graduation invitations, and more. 30 plus years of quality work and service. They're open Monday through Friday from 8 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. Located at 890 East Range Road in Memphis, Tennessee, 901-345-9294. Graphic Printing.
This is Sergeant Chris Richardson with the Tennessee Highway Patrol. Pedestrian safety is a two-way street. Both drivers and walkers need to do their part to keep roads safe. When you're walking, remember, the drivers may not always see you, so remember to use these tips to continue to walk safely. Wear bright clothes. Always use crosswalks and obey signs. Lights and reflectors should be used. And finally, keep alert and do not walk distracted. This message brought to you by the Tennessee Highway Patrol.
C&S Motors Auto Sales, located at 2508 Summer Avenue here in Memphis, Tennessee. Call them at 901-323-8778. C&S Motors Auto Sales has been around since 1984. Go by and see Chris today some of the best pre-owned and used vehicles in the city. They have SUVs, minivans, cars, trucks, whatever you're looking for in pre-owned used vehicles. Hey, you can find it right there at C&S Motors Auto Sales. See Chris since 1984. They will treat you right. Call them at 901-323-8778. That's 901-323-8778. 2508 Summer Avenue, C&S Motors Auto Sales.